Well, welcome. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is the City Council, Coeur d'Alene, and it is May 6th, and I want to welcome everybody that came for the show, as our TV guy calls this. Anyway, I'll call order and do a roll call, please.
Gabriel.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Gukin. Wood.
Here.
English.
Here. Thank you, Joe. Invocation, is John here? John, welcome. Everybody would stand for the invocation and stay standing for the pledge, please.
Our Father in heaven, we're so grateful to be here tonight together for the City Council meeting. We're grateful for the people who are serving on the City Council, for the time that they take away from their families, from their jobs, from their hobbies to serve and to give back, and pray that as they meet together that they can counsel together, that they can be open to input from each other and from the public, that they will continue to serve in a way that is beneficial for our city. We're grateful for our city employees who work so hard for us. We're especially grateful for our first responders, for our police and fire, and all of the many people who put their lives on the line day after day, and pray that they will be blessed and protected. And these things we ask for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, John. Christy, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Certainly. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Council, any amendments to the agenda tonight? Hearing none. Moving on. We have a couple of, we have one presentation and two proclamations, so we're going to learn something tonight. First proclamation is Military Caregiver Month, and we have Lieutenant George Farragut, Chapter, Michelle Fansker, and Regent, and Kathy Swenson, Vice Regent. Welcome. Come on up. Having that desk there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Kenny, you're going to read the proclamation.
I am going to read the proclamation, Mayor. Thank you. Whereas a series of wars and conflicts in which our nation has been engaged over time since World War II has resulted in 5.5 million military and veteran caregivers who are parents, spouses, siblings, and friends caring for those wounded, ill, or injured who have served our nation, is documented by the 2014 RAND study commissioned by the Elizabeth Doe Foundation. And whereas the daily task of these military and veteran caregivers can include bathing, feeding, dressing, and caring for the injuries of wounded warriors, administering medication, providing emotional support, caring for the family and the home, and working outside the home to earn essential income. And whereas the nation provides multifaceted support to our wounded, ill, and injured veterans and service members through public, private, and philanthropic resources, but their caregivers receive little support or acknowledgement. And whereas most military and veteran caregivers consider the challenging work they do as simply carrying out the civic and patriotic duty without realizing they are, in fact, caregivers and do not identify themselves as such. And whereas an alarming number of military and veteran caregivers, according to the research, are suffering numerous debilitating mental, physical, and emotional effects as a result of their caregiving duties, and whereas the City of Coeur d'Alene desires to recognize and support those who are serving in these vital roles in our community. Now therefore, on behalf of Woody McEvers, Mayor of City, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, do by proclaim the month of May 2025 as Military Caregiver Month. And the City of Coeur d'Alene announces its support of military and veteran caregivers in our community. It is witnessed hereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the great seal of Coeur d'Alene to be affixed on this May 6th, 2025. I missed that one a little, didn't I? I'm back in time.
Thank you, Kenny. Well, welcome, ladies.
Okay. Thank you. Ready? Okay. How do we get it up on the screen?
I don't know.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we want to make it full screen though, so click right here.
Great, thank you. Mayor and council members, as a daughter and caregiver of a Vietnam veteran and a wife of a Persian Gulf War veteran, I am honored to share with you about the Hidden Heroes program. There are 14.3 million military and veteran caregivers in the United States. These spouses, mothers, fathers, and other loved ones put their lives indefinitely on hold to care for their wounded veterans and service members at home. In most cases, caregivers begin this journey in total isolation without support. Hidden Heroes is our way of providing these selfless Americans with the help they need and the recognition they deserve. Senator Elizabeth Dole. What is Hidden Heroes? Hidden Heroes is an initiative of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Created in 2016, the initiative seeks to raise awareness of the issues military caregivers confront each day, inspire cities, counties, individuals, businesses, and civic, faith, and government leaders to take action to support military caregivers in their communities. Encourage military caregivers to register at hiddenheroes.org to better understand their needs and connect them with helpful resources and support. The challenge. Currently, Hidden Heroes has little to no reach into Idaho. Military caregivers silently attempt to navigate their veterans' needs alone, without a supportive community of caregivers and without the knowledge that public and private organizations are ready and willing to help. Who are the daughters of the American Revolution? DAR is a nonprofit, non-political women's service organization. Members must have proven lineal descent from a patriot of the American Revolution. We focus our service efforts in historic preservation, education, and patriotism. We are also the largest women's service organization for veterans. Idaho has 15 chapters across the state with nearly 900 members. Nationwide, DAR has almost 200,000 active members. Our objectives: educate Idahoans about who qualifies as a military caregiver, identify Idaho's military caregivers, show appreciation and support for their sacrifice and dedication, connect caregivers to resources, and connect caregivers to a supportive, informative community. How can Idaho cities help? Join Hidden Heroes, DAR, and the Idaho Division of Veteran Services. Join over 200 cities, counties, and states in publicly recognizing and offering support to your city's military caregivers. How can Idaho's cities help? Prepare and sign a proclamation recognizing your community's military caregivers, like we did today. And it actually meant something to me when you said this. I was like, thank you for recognizing us. Designate an individual as a point of contact for your city. Help identify military caregivers in your city. Direct them to 2 resources, hiddenheroes.org and hiddenheroesidaho.org. Organize community support and honor military caregivers and join us in raising awareness about their needs. Here are some resources that are available to understand the caregiver journey, the Hidden Heroes Cities and Counties Summit webinar, and the science-backed research regarding the scope and need for America military caregivers. Welcome to the partnership. Together, we will identify military caregivers in each city, publicly communicate our support, work together with city elected officials to recognize Idaho's hidden heroes, commit to being a hidden heroes community in Idaho. This project started with only 1, and now we're up to 43 counties and 40 cities. Contribute resources for Idaho's hidden heroes to add to the Idaho specific directory at hiddenheroesidaho.org, and assign a city contact for caregivers who have questions or wish to engage with city leadership. Welcome to the partnership, and thank you for helping Idaho's military caregivers feel seen and supported.
Thank you, girls. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask them a quick question?
Good job.
Thank you. I'm just hoping that we have your contact information. Probably our clerk does because she put you on the agenda. I would like to connect you with another veterans organization that I belong to. And
okay.
so I'll reach out.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks again. Appreciate that. Next proclamation, Preservation Month, May of 2023,
I think I'm up.
25. I'm doing it too.
I know
Kenny,
we're
you
going
did it to
backwards,
me.
Mr. Mayor.
And Kiki's going to read that for us and present it.
Okay. Some more whereases coming at you here. Whereas historic preservation is an essential tool for managing growth and sustainable development, realizing neighborhoods, positively impacting the local economy, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by the dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as people, including the original habitants and protectors of Coeur d'Alene, the Coeur d'Alene tribe. And whereas Coeur d'Alene's Historic Preservation Commission is partnering with the Museum of North Idaho and the Coeur d'Alene Press to do historic preservation outreach and education throughout the month of May, on behalf of Mayor Woody McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I do hereby proclaim the month of May as Preservation Month. In Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, we ask the people to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance through a variety of historic preservation activities.
Thank you, Kiki. And that's going to,
Walter
Walter Burns.
our chairman of our Historic Preservation Commission.
thanks for coming out, Walter.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This year we are teaming up with the Museum of North Idaho and the Music Conservatory of Coeur d'Alene to celebrate Preservation Month for the second year in a row. And we have a brand new logo, our very own. We have a number of events planned for the month, kicking off with our Preservation Month reception at the Northern Pacific Railway Depot this Thursday at 6 p.m. The depot is generously being made available to us by John Swallow and his family, who were the recipients of last year's Heart of History Award that we present. At this year's event, we'll present the third annual Heart of History Award to Clark's Jewelers, recognizing the wonderful job they've done preserving the interior, the exterior, and the street clock of their Sherman Avenue store in much the same way it was a century ago. Oop. And I blew it. Okay. Hillary.
It's finicky.
I'm just technologically
You're
challenged.
good. It might be easier just to use the little down button too.
I can
or
do
the-
that.
Or the other one.
I can do that. Okay, where was I? We have many other events to celebrate our city's history, including a Mother's Day tea and brunch hosted by the Music Conservatory at the historic Hamilton House on May 10th. The museum will offer tours of the fort grounds in our historic downtown throughout the month, as well as a special Mother's Day Notable Women Tour of the Forest Cemetery on May 11th. Members of the Historic Preservation Commission will be hosting a table at the Fifth Street Farmers Market on May 21st and 28th to build public awareness, answer questions, and provide information on preservation efforts throughout the city. Of course, the biggest news we have to celebrate is that the Garden District is now officially listed on the National Register of Historic Places. This has been a long time coming, and we're very, very pleased. In recognition, we'll be wrapping up Preservation Month with a special Garden District weekend. On Saturday, May 31st, the Museum of North Idaho will be leading a memorable walking tour of the Garden District, highlighting its rich history and the important role the neighborhood has played in the development of Coeur d'Alene. And then the following day, on Sunday, June 1st, the Historic Preservation Commission and the Garden District Board of Directors will be co-hosting an event at Fippity Park to officially celebrate the listing of the downtown Garden District in the National Register. Invitations will go out to every address in the neighborhood, so we're expecting quite a turnout. The event will be held from 1 to 3 and will feature a short ceremony to unveil a plaque marking this important milestone for historic preservation here in Coeur d'Alene. That's Sunday, June 1st at Fippity Park, so please mark your calendars. We hope to see all of you there. Beyond Preservation Month, there are, as always, a number of other things that we are working on, but I don't want to take time tonight to talk about them. You can all hear about them at the reception at the depot on Thursday. As always, we greatly appreciate your continuing support of historic preservation in Coeur d'Alene. Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. Appreciate it.
See, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to say that I really appreciated that slide that had on the May 31st, it has our old house at 905 Garden in there. So thanks for that one. Okay. I'm good. Okay.
All right, next up, our Deputy Fire Chief Jeff Sells is going to tell us about the 2025 Wildland Season Outlook. Do you predict the weather also? Is that part of this?
That's why I'm here.
All right. Thanks for coming out, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wildland season is right around the corner, and we wanted to take an opportunity to share with Council and the community some of the behind-the-scene activities that occur every year as we prepare, and some resources that are available to you and to the community. While we think wildland season occurring during the hot months of the year is pretty much when it's happening, preparation is occurring year-round and involves a lot of partners. When we talk about the outlook, specifically we're referring to the weather patterns as they're being predicted and how we believe it will affect fire behavior. So with that, these are typically the resources that we will go to see what the experts are saying when it comes to predicting the weather patterns and how they may affect fire conditions. So in a nutshell, the experts are predicting a higher than average fire activity this summer. We're in a bit of a drought and less than average snowpack in our region, and that's pretty much consistent on all three of those websites. And while we do pay attention to these predictions, in a few weeks we'll be receiving some more specific and localized weather reports And we take those reports, and those are what we use to help us make decisions on increasing staffing during red flag warnings, and it also helps us make decisions on whether or not we have the ability to send resources out of town. Conversely, that if the predictions are, favorable for us, it also allows us to say we can send resources out of town to assist our neighbors. It is an important point that there's no agency or department in the country that is able to handle a significant wildland urban interface fire on their own. So help from others is critical to the safety and success of those operations in any community, as obviously we all saw with the Los Angeles fires. So with that, this map has been provided to us by the Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management and defines the wildland urban interface. We'll often refer to that as the WUI challenges in our county. The orange defines the wildland intermix area. These are wooded areas that actually have a population density, and you'll see one there with us at Tubbs Hill, and that just essentially the residents that live on the hill are considered part of that intermix. The yellow defines the interface, and that is the area that is directly next to the forest that would be exposed should a wildland fire come through. The darker areas up in the upper left define that interface area that is more highly densely populated. So as you can see, there's no area within the city that does not fall into the WUI classification. And just as kind of a fire behavior education, winds are the primary medium that spread fire and growth. So for us, promoting fire-resistant building exteriors, maintaining clean landscapes, and complying with burn restrictions are some of the essential tactics that keep our community safe. And regarding burn restrictions, just as a reminder to the public that burn permits will be required starting May 10th. They can go to the Idaho Department of Land's website and apply for a permit. The permits are free, and then we get asked why, so what's the purpose of them if they're free? And you have to acknowledge that you've read and understand the rules regarding what is acceptable to burn the size of the fires, or the size of the fires that are allowed. So that if they're out of compliance, we can have the fires put out. So, as you probably know, Fire Smart is a proactive program in Kootenai County that's increased awareness of the hazards associated with wildfire in the WUI, and they also coordinate mitigation of those hazards whenever possible. Funding is provided for those projects through grants from our state and federal agencies, and then projects include fuel breaks that are designed to protect individual property owners as well as the community. The fuel breaks also aid in our firefighting efforts as they provide anchors where we can start engaging a fire from and a safe area where we can fall back to if needed. And then you can see some of the projects, and some of them that have been completed, and then some projects that are in the works. So the workshop that's referred to on the upper right there, we participated in that in January and are in the process of working to fund a continuation of the fuel break between I-90 and the Armstrong neighborhood. These three projects you see at the bottom also affect our community. And they affect our community because we share a lot of resources, and we also share infrastructure. For instance, a electrical power grid. And then I'll talk a little bit about some of the Avista plans there at the end of the presentation. With regard to the resources that we share, the Kootenai County Fire Chiefs Association maintains and coordinates a predetermined wildland task force plan. And that identifies resources from each department that will respond outside of Kootenai County to assist our neighbors. It's also worth noting that these predetermined strike teams also detail plans for deployments to large medical events, active shooters, large structure fires. So this wildland deployment plan is part of that same group. So partnerships are the key to being successful in the preparation and management of every WUI event. We have 2 formal agreements with the Idaho Department of Lands. One allows them to come into the city and help us fight WUI fires. This agreement allows us to leverage air resources and manpower. The other is the Idaho Cooperative Mobilization Agreement, and you'll hear that referred to as the ICMA. This agreement essentially sets a shopping list across the state for resources that are available, what they cost, and how reimbursement occurs. We list the medical resources on that agreement to be able to help other communities during disasters. In fact, this team deployed a couple of times last year to several fires. And what they bring back, among other things, are some real-world experience that our folks can apply, and that they can also relay their experiences to other members of our department. I already described what FireSmart is, but want to recognize Steve Bladel with Inland Forest Management. They are the contracted organization in Kootenai County that administers the FireSmart funds. As a city, we have worked closely with Steve and our own Nick Goodwin with parks on every project that occurs within the city. In fact, they're both currently working on the Tubbs Hill plan. The Office of Emergency Management locally and at the state is a one-stop shop in the event that we need more resources than what we can collect locally. The Idaho Fire Chiefs Association helps coordinate those resources, getting them together and getting them to the scene that they need to be. For instance, Chief DeRuyter was the Idaho Fire Chiefs representative up here in District 1, and he helped coordinate the resources that went down to Los Angeles. It's also worth noting that our mutual aid departments also include those in Spokane County as well. I mentioned Nick with the Parks Department, but in the event of any significant WUI event, every city department will be involved in their department's capacity or their responsibility as elected officials. Our most important partnership, however, is with our community. Our community is a force multiplier in preventing the 80% of WUI fires that are human caused. They're a force multiplier when it comes to ensuring their homes are hardened to wildfire, as I described earlier. So we've talked about preparing our property and buildings for a fire, but it's also important to talk about how to keep our family and our community safe. A challenge in our community with WUI fires is the need to be able to search for victims near or in the fire area. This includes in homes and in our parks. Tubbs Hill, for example. The hill is very populated almost 24/7, and it has been a challenge in the past to be able to search for folks that are still on the hill while firefighting operations are occurring. We encourage our citizens to have a plan to protect themselves if the fire is going to impact you. Part of that plan is to make sure you stay informed. So at the bottom of this, we encourage people to sign up for Alert Kootenai. This will be the most effective means to receive emergency notifications. So I've also put up some additional references or means of communication. The first is a link to Pulse Point. This is actually an app that will notify you if a citizen near you is having a cardiac arrest or a cardiac event, and then if you choose to help, you can respond and help. One of the other benefits to this particular app is it also allows us to be able to communicate out other emergencies within the community, such as wildland fires, to whoever has the app. The Watch Duty app is a wildfire-specific platform that can notify folks of wildfires locally or in the region. And then finally, as I had talked about earlier, this last website is a link to help answer questions regarding the public safety power shutoff, the PSPS program Avista Utilities rolled out last year. This is essentially a program that if they have determined that their power lines are either going to cause a wildland fire or contribute to it, or they are inhibiting firefighting activities, they have the ability to turn power off for that particular area. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Council, questions? Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, excellent presentation. I think there isn't anything that will strike fear in everyone's heart more than fire, and in being concerned that we're prepared for it. So I really appreciate all of the different links that you've provided. You know, that pulse point is really cool. I was downtown last fall, and two off-duty firemen, Gabe and Brian, they were walking by me on the sidewalk in a hurry, and I said, "Where are you two off to?" Well, they had gotten a pulse point alert, and they were going to help somebody that was suffering a cardiac event. So that was really great. I'm just curious, I don't know if the department is doing any kind of workshops or it's on the website where people could maybe understand what do they need to have ready in the case of a fire? What's most important? Where are they going to put their pets? I don't know if you get into that level of detail.
We do some public, for instance, Thursday I'm speaking with the Tubbs Hill group specifically about wildfire. And
I'll be there.
yeah,
Great.
so there are some great resources through the Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management, and they discuss, they actually give a good checklist as to the things that you should probably take with you and be prepared to take with you. How to prepare your home if you're going to leave, for instance, making sure doors are closed, making sure furniture is off the deck, making sure, if you can take your curtains down, to pull your curtains off the wall. Just a lot of tips like that can help, help the community, be prepared. They also, we also will go out and take a look at folks' homes if they have a question about, landscaping or whether or not their property is prepared for a wildland fire. So we can certainly field questions, specific questions in the office, or folks can go to the Office of Emergency Management website.
That's great. Thank you.
Other questions, council? Thanks so much, Chief. Appreciate that. All right, moving along. We have public comment, and I have a list here. And if you haven't put your name on it, maybe you can write down on a new one and I'll eventually get it. So we have 3 minutes, and first up is Michael Sims. Welcome, Michael.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I may have to ask you for an additional minute. I'll do the best I can to get through this.
Okay.
Okay? The reason I'm here, we have submitted a petition to lower the speed limit on Atlas between Prairie Avenue and Hanley to 25 miles an hour. The specific reason for that is the noise is horrendous. There are, on the signatures I got on this petition, there's only about 45, but that represents 45 homes. And I only got one signature from each person in charge of the home. But there are 100 homes that are burdened by this noise. Now, 95% of the homes there, the back doors face Atlas. And guess what? It's 13 yards from the road to our property line. That's pretty close. That's just a little more than a first down in football. Now, the noise is just absolutely horrendous. 11 years ago when I bought my home, and some of the people I talked to bought their homes 17 and 18 years ago, sure, there was a little traffic there, but it's nothing like it is now. I have submitted also to the council and the mayor and the streets and engineering department some studies that were done on sound and noise abatement from traffic. The only inexpensive way and the most best way to do that is to lower the speed limits where it's necessary. Now, I know that this 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on throughways is basically a good idea, except when it adversely affects this many people. And I can't even begin to tell you how bad it is. I have extended an invitation to the Streets and Engineering Department, and I am now extending an invitation to any one of you and the mayor. You're welcome to come to my home at around 2 o'clock any afternoon till about 6 if you really want to understand what this is about. It's horrendous, and it needs to be changed. We don't need to look at a 6-month or a year study to get this done. I mean, Streets and Engineering are very, very much aware of the traffic on Atlas. But I think nobody understands how bad the noise is. Now, you take into consideration from Prairie to Hanley is 1 mile. There are no stoplights, no crosswalks, nothing to slow traffic down. Speed limit at 35, what a joke. They're doing 40, 45, and faster. Now, common sense tells you that if you know anything about noise from automobiles, the slower you go, the less noise the tires make, the less noise the engines make. Everything is just lowered. The only chance that we have of having any peace of mind at all is to lower the speed limit to 25, because they're still going to do more than that. But right now at 35, I can't even tell you the number of times I've seen people go by having to do at least 40, 50 miles an hour. I mean, it's horrendous. And we also have now a lot of diesel trucks coming up from Celtice. Atlas has become a truck route also. So we have a lot of jake brake noise. It's terrible. So what I would ask you people to do is to take a humanitarian look at this situation. Okay, you've got systems set up for speed limits and that sort of thing. Okay, but like I said, those are only good if it's not detrimental to the people involved in the area. And it is definitely detrimental. I talked to the National Safety and Transfer Division in Boise, Idaho. I asked him, I said, okay, is any city, do they have to depend or answer to Boise or any federal agency to change the speed limits in their city if it's not a state or national road? And they said, no, it's all up to you people and Streets and Engineering. You're the ones that make the decision. And we are asking you to just look at this, like I said, from a humanitarian standpoint and get it done. And don't wait 6 months or a year to get it. Summer's here, and we don't need to go through with, that's 200 people. If you put 2 people per household, and that's not even including the kids that are suffering from this. So I just ask you, please, do something about it and do it quickly so that we can have some peace of mind. Now,
Thank you, Michael.
I'll tell you what, if you'll come to my home, I'll make you comfortable. I even crank up the smoker and cook some ribs while you're there. But
Boy, that's
somebody
like-
do it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much.
And next up, Linda Coppolis. Linda.
Good evening, Mayor McEvers, council members, and fellow community members. My name is Linda Koppes, and I am proud to serve as the president and CEO of the Coeur d'Alene Regional Chamber. I'm here on behalf of our board of directors and nearly 1,000 member businesses to express our unwavering support for the upcoming firefighters bond initiative on the May 20 ballot. Public safety isn't just a government responsibility. It's a shared community priority. As Coeur d'Alene continues to grow, so does the demand of our first responders. Today, our fire department is stretched thin, operating out of aging, undersized facilities and relying on outdated, costly to maintain equipment, all while facing limited capacity to respond to our multiple emergencies. These brave men and women risk their lives every day to protect our families, our homes, and our businesses. This bond isn't just about funding. It's about giving our firefighters the tools that they need to serve safely, efficiently, and effectively. The proposed bond will provide critical upgrades to fire stations, modernize essential equipment, and expand training programs. These improvements are all vital for maintaining rapid response times and meeting the increasing demands of our community. As business leaders, we know that a safe environment is essential for economic vitality. A well-equipped fire department not only protects lives, but also safeguards the businesses and properties that make our local economy thrive. It's the foundation of a strong and resilient community. I urge you all to consider the long-term benefits of this investment. By voting in favor of the bond, we are reinforcing our commitment to the safety, strength, and future of Coeur d'Alene. At the Chamber, we believe that a safe community is a strong community. We encourage our members, partners, and all citizens to learn more about this initiative and vote in favor of on May 20th. It's an investment in the people, services, and the values that make Coeur d'Alene an extraordinary place to live, work, and grow. Thank you for your time, and to our fighters, thank you all so much for your unwavering service and sacrifice. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Linda. Really appreciate that. Nick Bell. Welcome, Nick.
Mayor and council members, on behalf of our neighborhood group, and we would all just like to thank you so much for pursuing a solution to that whole C Street debacle. We understand it was not an easy situation, and coming to kind of the solution really we feel like was for the better of the neighborhood and community. Really, we understand it wasn't an easy choice given the threat of the lawsuit, but we appreciate you looking out for the greater good of everyone and not cowering to the threats of one individual. So, outside of our personal involvement with the issue, we also believe that it really was an important issue to take a stand on just because of the precedent that that whole situation would have set if it wasn't corrected. Like I said, obviously we were personally involved, but I really think that that was a very, very good precedent to set that, further, we just talked about with Walter, the Historic Preservation Society and all that coming up, and I think this was a great precedent to set that we're trying to look out for the greater good for our community kind of rolling forward. So we also would like to thank the building and planning departments for working with us to this. We totally know it was a rock and a hard place situation, and we don't want to foster any bad feelings. It was a tough situation, and we just want to thank everyone for working together and kind of coming to a solution on all that. So we understand this is an ongoing situation, but the silence has kind of killed us in the past, and we just would like to know if there's anything you're able to share on the situation, and we totally understand if, due to the nature of it, we're not able to discuss anything about it. But once again, just want to say thank you guys for everything. So,
Thanks so much, Nick. Really appreciate that. Randy, you want to make any comment on that?
No, we are continuing to actively work on the issue.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again, Nick. Justin Nagel. Welcome, Justin, all the way from Rathdrum. Thanks for driving in.
Thank you for letting me speak today. Appreciate it, Mayor and council members and the public. I just want to bring up a couple situations that I think everybody needs to be aware of. I've been going back and forth with the Coeur d'Alene City Police Department about their officers conducting police activities out at Spirit Lake. There's several ways to look at that. I spoke to one supervisor, and the supervisor's answer was the deputies cross-deputized and basically can do whatever they want. Or the other big fallback is saw an emergency situation. So the officer wasn't on duty. This brings up to me a couple of problems. Last I knew, you guys, the City of Coeur d'Alene doesn't have a contract with Kootenai County to pay for services. So I think there's a huge problem here of, did you pay your officer for his services that he conducted out in Kootenai County? Did the taxpayers of Coeur d'Alene get paid back for that? Yeah, I mean, and nobody can seem to get an answer. I can't get a call back from the Coeur d'Alene City Police Department. So this is actually about a 10 or 15-year problem that I've gone through talking to the City of Rathdrum, and nobody can seem to find where all the money goes. Either you didn't pay your officer for his job that he's working on, or he's not working, which brings up, like we had a captain from the sheriff's office get fired for not being able to provide investigative files to the ATF. What job is he on? What call was he answering? Is he on an investigation? What's the investigation? They're basic public information questions. And which brings us back to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I really think you guys need to question the programs and things that you participate in with them. Excuse me, I shouldn't say any names. The missing investigation files with the ATF, well, I'm the guy that caught him. And last fall, I caught him again. So we're going through the process of where are all these investigative files with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. To me, that's a huge public safety concern when their officers are talking to your officers. Do you know that they're being honest with you? And the answer is we already know they're not being honest because they've been caught before. And there's the same problem with the Idaho State Police. I don't know how to address it, but when I call into the Coeur d'Alene City Police Department, I was told by your officer that you guys don't have light policies. My point is, I'll cut to the chase here, 12 seconds left. When the public calls in, we're the actual bosses. You guys are all appointed by us to do our business. I can't name any job where the boss calls you and you ask for an honest question, and your police officer or whoever's in charge can lie, flat out lie about the Coeur d'Alene City policies, what the officer's doing, and retain employment. I can't name a job where you can lie to your boss and keep your job. It's totally unacceptable. So these are leadership in the Coeur d'Alene City Police Department. So there's very clearly a larger problem that's been going on. And nobody wants to file a lawsuit, but somebody needs to get on it and take care of it. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate that information. Next up, Asa Gray.
He's have the slightest idea what that guy is talking about.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name's Asa Gray, and I'm a resident of the city of Coeur d'Alene. I'm here tonight just to talk on behalf of myself and my family. I wanted to first start by thanking you all for the service you perform for all of us as citizens of Coeur d'Alene and as taxpayers and residents. In the last few months, my wife and I have had cause to interact with both members of the police and fire department, and I wanted to let you know what an outstanding job they are doing. A few months ago, we thought we had a gas leak at our apartment complex. Long story short, our neighbors in the garage below had left the gas cap off their vehicle, and it permeated up overnight into our apartment. And so, well, it wasn't natural gas, it was a different form of gas vapor we were smelling. And the fire department were amazing and professional in how they responded to our needs. And then yesterday, actually, my wife was down here at McEwen right after the memorial. And she was with our 15-month-old daughter down here to let her play at the park. And there was a gentleman who was sitting who tried to tried to interact with our daughter, and it rubbed my wife the wrong way, and she kind of pulled our daughter away, and he, as my wife put it, was kind of just watching them. And there was a police officer down here doing crowd control after the memorial, and he's like, everything okay? And she let him know how she was feeling, that she was feeling a little off-put by that, and he's like, he reassured her that he was there, that she was safe, and that meant the world to me, because I was at work and I didn't even hear about it till later. And so just thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thanks, Asa. Anyone else that didn't sign up? Okay, we're going to move on. City Council announcements. Kenny.
I have one. You know how much I love recognizing our staff and the great things they do. And one thing I was going to talk about last meeting and flat plain forgot was that our water department was awarded the, I'm going to try to say this right, the Idaho Rural Water Association Water District of the Year. And we talked about Glenn and him being appointed to the board, but the whole water department won. So to them, very well done, and big thanks to everything they do and everything our staff does.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Dan?
Well, just recently there was an article in the paper about a new piece of legislation, and I think it got reported at one of the Regional Association of Cities, but on how a kind of a systematic, thoughtful way to look at shutting down a urban renewal district. And I've been beating this drum a bit, but I think I want to take a hard look at that and do whatever formal action we need that initiate the process to, it looks like you meet with them and everything, but with the health district, I just don't think that's necessary, and I think there's a good case for looking at shutting it down, but I'm glad that they've got instead of just kind of stabbing at this or that, there's a real organized process. So I will be looking at that and whatever we need to initiate. And I understand it'll involve an actual meeting with the district and get the input back and forth. And like I say, a good, thoughtful process. But I just think that's one we should look at.
Right. Thanks. Anyone else? All right. I do have an appointment. I would like to appoint Tom Messina to the Design Review Commission and Elvia Metz to the Ignite Coeur d'Alene Board.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, roll call. Okay.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
And I do want to just take a moment and express our condolences to the family and friends of Connie France Thompson. Connie worked for the city back in 1990 to 1998 as deputy city clerk. And to those who knew her and worked with her, they would remember her as fun-loving, outgoing person. I think that goes with the job. She relocated to Canada and spent her recent years there. The city is thankful for her years of service, and again, condolences to her family. All right, move on to the consent calendar. Council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Other business, Resolution 25020, approval of a letter of agreement with Keenan Johnson for the recreational transit upon designated city streets. That
Okay.
sounds interesting.
It sounds, we've
Kelly,
heard this before.
welcome.
Hi, thank you. So I'm here presenting a proposal from Keenan Johnson. He's requesting to operate a recreational transit vehicle on the city streets. Not vehicle, it's electric assist, which is similar to the pedal pub that you had approved last summer. And the applicant is here for questions if you have any after the presentation. So I'll go over the tour routes and schedules that he is proposing. So it'll be seasonal from May to October. Tours will be Monday through Sunday, approximately 2 hours long. And there's 16 maximum seats on the trolley. All tours begin and end at Jeremiah Johnson's Brewing on 4th Street. The loading and unloading is proposed on the south side of the Montana Avenue to keep it off of the main 4th Street. So the scenic tour is for all ages. This is non-alcoholic, so no alcohol will be allowed on this tour. And there will be a brief stop at the Carousel and a historical drive by Fort Sherman. And these tours range from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And here's a map of the route. So they're going to pick up on the Montana street side. And then the streets that are included are 3rd, 4th, 5th, Garden Front, Government Way, River Drive, College Drive, Hubbard, and Lakeside. So they'll go around in the neighborhood, come back down to Front, and head back up to Jeremiah Johnson. So the alcohol tour for guests over 21 they're allowed to bring their own sealed beer, seltzer, or wine for consumption while on board the bike. So they can't take an unsealed beverage off of the vehicle or bring one on that's already opened. These stops will include Jeremiah Johnson, where they will load and unload Crafted Tap House. They will load and unload on the 6th Street side and dock side. They will unload and load in the parking lot behind the restaurant. And these stops will be approximately 20 to 30 minutes while the guests go in and have a beverage or snack. And those times are from 1 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And so we have spoken with the police and streets department to get their input if they had any concerns or comments. The street sees no issues with this route. The police did note no issues, but they would like the ability to adjust if needed, and that language is in the agreement. So, the action request is the council to approve a letter of agreement with Keenan Johnson for the commercial use of the city streets for recreational transit. And I stand for any questions.
Question, Council Amy.
I just have one question. I love these innovative ideas and have watched them come and go from the community for years, so it's kind of fun. But I am concerned about parking, loading and unloading by Jeremiah Johnson. Where will the guests park? It's already pretty congested in there with,
for parking, the guests will park across from 4th Street on the 3rd Street parking lot side there. Kind of, if you're familiar with like the ice cream store there, Cup and Cone, I think there's a Panhandle Cone and Coffee. There's a large parking lot that the
that's
guests will be
owned
able
by
to
the Idaho Youth Ranch, right, for their business? Is that the Idaho Youth Ranch parking lot?
I guess I was not familiar with that.
Is there
That's
public
where,
one too? Okay.
speaking to Jeremiah Johnson, that's where they mentioned
Is it
their guest
public?
park.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, public.
okay, good.
Yeah,
Thank
'cause
you.
Ignite got, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Other questions?
Kelly, we did have a long discussion about this topic last summer. Different vendor, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And is that vendor still operating?
No, he had a
Okay.
1-year agreement with the city and he never chose to use theirs.
Okay, well, we have went through every layer of this, so,
It's similar.
yeah, thanks.
Anyone else? Kiki?
And Kelly, I may have missed it, but how is music addressed in here? Is it just?
It was not mentioned. Is
It's-
there music?
There will be music on board, but for example, when we're going on the scenic route in the neighborhoods, it'll be kept at a respectful volume, or we'll do things such as like trivia, historical kind of inputs on what Coeur d'Alene has to offer, I guess, from our driver. So there won't be loud music played in the neighborhoods or anywhere outside of kind of the downtown corridor.
Okay, so is that one of the modifications that the police held out to reserve? I seem to recall that when we had the pedal bike, that was one of the issues that happened is people, were celebrating and having a great time, but they were doing that while they were going through quiet neighborhoods, and it ended up being a little problematic for some of them. So I'm just wondering if that's one of the items that the police were going to hold out to reserve to change their mind.
Yes, the modification language is pretty broad. It says the city reserves the right to add or modify the conditions at any time as deemed necessary in order to maintain peace, order, and safety within the city limits.
That covers about everything.
All right, any other questions? Council, I'll look for a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 25-020, approving a letter of agreement with Keenan Johnson for recreational transit upon designated city streets.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call, please, Aunt Joe.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
All right, moving along. Pricing for a new millstone art niche wall. Bill Greenwood is so excited about this. This is so cool, right, Bill?
Good evening, guys. One quick note, Jeff Sales was talking about the Tubbs Hill fuel mitigation. It went to opening bid today. I haven't got the results yet. So Steve Ladle was there to get that, and here real shortly we'll have some information for you in the next couple of days about who the winning contractor was. So on my item, I'd like to give you a little background. Some of you may know Dale. He was one of the artists selected when we bought Cherry Hill. We had found 7 granite stones, and they were about the size of the table that Mr. Tymason and Mr. Adams sat at. And we had a call for artists, and Dale was one of those artists. Dale Young was one of those artists who took that stone, and he has this stone pine cone bench at East Tubbs. So the vertical piece of this column he carved into a pine cone. And the seated area is some things that he purchased some years ago, a few millstones. So big flat round piece that grinds corn and wheat, right? And so he popped into my office, 4 years ago, on a napkin, a drawing, and said, "Hey, Bill, I got this great idea. I want to make a millstone niche wall." And I said, "Okay, well, let's keep talking." And a year later, he comes back, and the drawing's getting a little bit more refined, but not quite there yet. And it took him almost 3.5 or 4 years to get to the finish line. And he finally came in this last year, and we budgeted for this in our parks, the cemetery fund. And this is what he came up with. So this has 16 niches around the outside, and what we're calling the family niche on the center. So it's two-sided. So there's 16 of these smaller ones and 2 of the larger ones. The reason we're here to talk to you about it is because we don't have a pricing for this niche. We have pricing in our niche walls that are set, but this one's being a little bit more unique. We felt like it was necessary to ask for a little bit more capital from the folks that want to live in those spots.
They're not really living, are they?
They're resting in those spots.
Okay.
How's that? So I'll take any questions about this. And in fact, we found a location. We have a spot in Forest Cemetery that's got, we call a niche road. And we have 3 existing niches there, the normal type that are square box looking things. We put this one on the southern end of that. And as we're sitting there talking about the placement, Jeff Erickson, my superintendent, said, gosh, it'd be nice if you had another one for a bookend effect. So I looked right at Dale and I said, "Do you have another one of these millstones?" He said, "I do." I said, "Okay, I want to get another one going so we can have one on either side." Part of the deal with Dale was that when he does an art piece, he always, his signature goes on his art piece down here. Part of the deal I worked out with him was that he and his wife get this niche. That's where his signature goes. That's where he wants. So then I asked him in the cemetery, where do you want this to face? I, in my mind, was seeing it facing north and south. Well, he said, no, I want it to say east and west, because when the sun comes up on the east, I want it to hit my niche. That's a quote from him. So that's what I'm here to do, is talk about the pricing that you guys, Renata's going to bring this forward here, I think in June, for our new pricing or fee structure. And so I wanted to get it in ahead of her. So when you look at this fee, you go, what in the heck's Bill doing again? So I wanted to have it all settled out before we get to the fee structures.
Okay. This could be interesting.
Well,
Kenny.
Just the inventiveness of this bill is just great, because the cemetery, although it's a place for reflection, you've turned it into something like it's almost a park.
It's beautiful. It really is.
Yes, and something like this just adds to it. And I love that he gets his own little niche right there with his name on it. I think that's very appropriate. But I'm in favor of this, absolutely, and even more like this. And like I say, you probably shouldn't get excited about stuff going in the cemetery, but it really is a big deal, and good for you for.
Thank you. And one thing I forgot to mention with Dale, he's really community-minded. You remember a few years ago, I think it was about 15, the cemetery lost a whole bunch of ponderosas down on that northwest corner. And we have an angel over there it's really a nice angel. It got destroyed. Well, Dale, on his own, he didn't even notice about it at the time, but I'm going to do it now. He fixed it, at no charge. So he repinned it and glued it and put it back together, and you have to get pretty close to see where the seam was, where the wing broke off. So he's a good guy to work with. Yeah.
Great job, Bill.
And what's the, I don't know, dimension or radius or whatever, that circle?
So it's right, okay, so from this point up, it sets on a pedestal that's 9 inches off the ground, that puts, right now, at the top of that, sets as it is, it's about this tall.
Okay.
So another 9 inches, it's up to there.
Yeah, so that's a good size wheel, yeah.
So Bill, let me ask you a couple questions. You're trying to compare a price for buying the niche, what you sell now as niches for 1s and 2s, and compare them to this, is that correct?
This is higher, it's almost double.
Okay.
So it's just, again, it's a unique piece, and I think when we get the pricing set, I think they'll go fast.
Yeah,
I really do.
Location.
Yeah, location. And, you know, in all transparency, I think I'm gonna buy myself one.
I'll be looking.
Well, you're not going in it for a while, Bill.
Hope not.
Any other questions, council? So look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like a motion to direct staff to move forward with the fee schedule as proposed to be included at the next fee public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please. Joe?
Gabriel,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. Keep coming up with this cool stuff, man. I love it. Moving on, approval of amendments to MC 615.010, adding subsections F and G, allowing goats to be utilized for weed abatement and setting forth requirements for such use. Almost as good as Thong Man.
Not exactly up that alley, right?
Sorry.
No, we had a request from the Meadow Ranch Homeowners Association to add some language to our code. The current code really only allows the city and other public entities to use goats within the city limits of Coeur d'Alene for weed abatement. Most of our jurisdiction allows for domesticated animals, so we don't allow for much other type of animals to come in the city limits of Coeur d'Alene unless you have like an acre-sized lot. So we put together some information here for you tonight. Talked with the police department that supervises the animal control unit and the fire department, who is concerned with some of these dry weed areas that do need to be abated. And the homeowners association is here tonight if you have questions specifically for them, as well as is Jared Renault, who supervises the animal control unit. But they did have an area of their open space in their subdivision that they could not find any landscapers to maintain. So that brought them forward to this idea of using goats. So I just wanted to post a little personal picture here of my use of goats on my backpacking trip for packing in a big old tent. So we do like goats in many ways. So what we're looking at is an addition to the code that would allow for homeowners associations to come forward in their open spaces to request the use of the goats when they have some sort of terrain that's steep or dense vegetation and they really don't have any other options. They would file an application with the city clerk's office that would be forwarded on to the police department for review and acceptance. We've outlined in the code the requirements that they would need to submit with their application. The police department had looked at several other cities and how they manage the use of goats. And there's some things added in there that just are meant to kind of keep the neighborhood peace. Some of the issues that come forward is sort of a nuisance for the smell, the noise. So we've limited the number of days where goats could be utilized. There's a limit to how many times a year. There is a limit here for no use of unneutered male goats. Apparently, they have quite a stench, and it permeates quite a long distance. So the police department has put some thought process forward into these extra requirements. And I know there are some ideas of maybe bringing it in for other groups other than homeowners associations. We really just brought this forward because that was the request we had before us, and the police department sort of feeling like this is all they could really manage at this point in time. But here's an overview of the area specifically that brought forward this request from the Meadow Ranch Homeowners Group. So you can kind of see where it's at here. Excuse me, over near that Schreiber Way area. Sits down from Fred Meyer's, and it's quite a steep area. They've provided some video here so you can kind of see the trail that they have behind the area, and if you look up and down the slopes.
So this is the north end of the subdivision.
Just talking about it being the northern part of the subdivision there.
And this is the trail that goes all. There are commercial businesses on the other side of the fence. And we are exiting to the south end of Meadow Ranch up this steep hill here. And that's the last house. South end. And in the video you can see the chain link fence continues all the way up. And we are exiting.
Sorry. Here you can kind of see some still photographs at how dense that vegetation is. And then as it dries out throughout the season, you can see that that could cause quite a bit of fire hazard there. This is an area they've talked to one of the organizations here that actually leases out the goats, and this is prime area for goat feed. So we stand before you tonight to request the amendments to Municipal Code 6.15.010 to add in the provisions as presented for you tonight, in hopes that the Homeowners Association can get their spring cleaning done this year.
Questions, Council? Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We just had Deputy Chief Sells give as good a wildland presentation as I've ever heard about some of the issues that are being faced in the community, and I love the creativity of the Homeowners Association coming forward and giving something that is really works, because the goats are not something that's just being done here. It's being used around the country now in the ability to take care of this. So I appreciate the Homeowners Association coming in, and it works, and it's pretty low use, it's pretty low impact, and I think it's a great idea.
Yep. Christie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm not about to let Jared Bruneau not come up and speak.
Good.
Did he think I would let him off the hook?
Come on up.
Sergeant Renault. Now, when you were still in middle school, I was working at the PD, and Fred Meyer and Meadow Ridge, that was a big farm. And they had cows, lots of cows. So the cows would get out, and they would go to Highway 95, and they would go to Ramsey. They would go everywhere. And so we would chase them, and we became, cow people somehow. My question to you is, when the goats get out, what specifically will animal control do?
Actually, when the goats get out, they'll do their best to contain them. The way that the provisions are written, and I think in working with the contractor, the plan is to have a large number of goats and to have somebody on site with them 24 hours a day while they're there, to have them there for a very brief period. And that's one of the reasons why we're looking at allowing this, is to keep it brief and to take care of a problem quickly without having the length of time become an issue and goats starting to escape and having to deal with some of those issues.
Well, I just want to see you chasing those goats.
I've chased goats before.
Any other questions? Kiki.
Sergeant Renault, can you just address, it seems to me like this is probably not going to be, I think Renata said there was only one goat vendor in the region, so there's not going to be a huge run on a lot of possibly goats everywhere. But it seemed like it'd be a great plan for just anyone who lived on, say, a half an acre or more, to be able to use this method, and we wouldn't need to go back through and rewrite the ordinance to add that down the road. Is there some major reason why we couldn't just keep that in there at this time?
Well, I think part of it is, yes, Councilmember Miller, I think part of it is because of the propensity for the livestock in the city to escape and to open it up for more widespread use. I think there's other methods of weed abatement that are at least as effective. Obviously, this is an environmentally friendly, and it works for specific types of terrain, which is the reason why we're looking at it in these areas. But they are still livestock, and they bring with them the drawbacks of the noise and the smells, and to be able to limit that and to limit the impact of grazing goats within neighborhoods within the city was what we were trying to avoid and trying to limit throughout for some of those.
That makes sense. I'm looking at this map that's fresh in my head right now, this wildfire interface area, and Fernan Hill Road area and all that has really large, long lots that they can't get up and down there, and that's kind of a prime load area for wildfires to come in. So those were kind of the things that I was looking at, that it just seems like this would be a solution for those types, and without us having to bring it back, it seems like it would be a solution to just let a resident with certain criteria, size, slopes, those types of things, be written into the ordinance so that they could take advantage of it now. I mean, I'm sure if it became a huge problem with goats running all over on every week, we could pull something out of there, but I just feel like it could be a successful solution to couple of different things we heard tonight. So that was my comment.
Mr. Mayor?
Christie.
Well, I agree with Kiki. I think that, isn't it written in there that it actually does go to the police department animal control supervisor for review?
It does, yes.
But this is just specific to HOAs.
Oh, I get you.
So I was just saying, under the same regulations, could a person with a half an acre or more on the same criteria, steep slope, limited other alternatives, also apply for the same permit? I just felt like it would be the same thing.
Councilmember Miller, I think part of it is utilizing this as a trial run to find out if there are any other issues before we open it up. I think it's a fairly easy modification if we had specific areas. I'm familiar with the area that you're talking about over from downhill, but I think if we had areas that it made sense where this didn't cover, it would be easy to modify it under that plan. But if it might be a little bit more challenging to bring it back if there were larger issues that we recognized from initially doing this.
So maybe we're just going to calendar check back in a year and see how it went.
Yeah.
Great.
Sounds good.
That's good.
Council.
I'm sorry, and I wanted to clarify, I did send out an amendment to this ordinance today. When we were talking with the homeowners association, there was an issue with the insurance amount being set at $1 million. So we were amenable to amending that down to 500,000. That's very consistent with many of our public works contracts that we have here at the city. And then the other item was the pinned-in areas at ½ an acre per time, which would be very difficult for some of these sloped areas to figure out where to pin in a ½ an acre. So we put in there the option that unless otherwise agreed to by the city, so that animal control could determine which projects could be pinned in a little differently. So those were 2 amendments that aren't in your packet.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, look for a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 25-101 once by title only.
Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Would you read the title, please, Joe?
Council Bill Number 25-1010, an ordinance providing for the amendment of Section 6-15-010 of the Coeur d'Alene Municipal Code, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for the publication of a summary of the ordinance, and providing for an effective date thereof.
I'll make a motion to adopt Council Bill number 25-1010.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks. The dog catcher guy, thanks for coming out. Oh, animal control, sorry. I'm old school, I forget about that.
He's actually a sergeant in charge.
Okay, all the way from the street departments, welcome, Todd. We have Resolution 25021, approval of the purchase of a purchase and sale agreement with North Idaho Fair Board for a triple-wide modular unit in the amount of $125,000. Take it away.
Thank you, council members and mayor. I'm excited to be here tonight. We've been working on this for 2 years. I even have the general manager of the fairgrounds, Alexia Jordan, and their board chair, Jerry Johnson, here tonight, just to make sure I go through with this. This building was purchased by the water department many years ago, and they lived out of they operated out of there for a long time. They got some property and moved to a different campus. At that point, our engineering department moved into there for a couple of years. 2 years ago, we did a remodel at Streets and Engineering. My goal was to get us all under one roof. I had many of you out there to look at it. And so we started conversations. I was in a meeting with the Fair Board, and they were hurting for office space, and I kind of just suggested, well, we might have a building we want to sell, and so it started. Unfortunately, about 3 weeks after we moved out of the modular building, the Streets and Engineering Department, we had a big fire at the Streets and Engineering and Police Department campus, and so we needed somewhere to put about 12 police, I think code enforcement and their volunteer staff all were operating out of there for the last 12 months or so. So they have moved out. They have moved into their almost complete building, and we are ready to make this jump and sell this building. Reasons for selling the building: as you all know, our campus is shrinking. We have more and more needs from our campus. Trying to find a place for PD, for Streets and Engineering and Fire. This building kind of sits smack dab in the middle of everything. So currently, just for those over in this area here, this is PD, this is the building we lost, this is the modular building that we're hoping to sell. This is where our mechanic shop and offices are for Streets and Engineering. And then we have Fire up here and their training tower. And then we operate our leaf pickup and we do other activities for streets and engineering. This is one of the last spots that we have to store material, to process material. It is the last spot that we can transfer the leaves at leaf pickup. We don't have any other lots in town. So this is in the middle and it's kind of in the way. And so the fairgrounds reached out and asked if we would. I approached council members. It seemed there would be an interest in us selling it to them. This is what the building looks like currently. It is a triple wide modular. They take it apart, put it on flatbed trailers, and they will haul it down the road. I think the fairgrounds plans on putting it straight out from North 40 somewhere there on their campus. Just another angle of the building. If I can back up just to one slide. So next council meeting, I am hopeful to come to you guys with a big campus plan. I've been working with PD and fire kind of to show you what spaces are needed and things like that, so you have a clear picture of what all of our vision is for this very crowded campus. So I've spoke with both. We're going to have a meeting next week to kind of finalize some ideas, and I hope to bring that forward. But the thing that has to happen to start it is we have to sell this building. So the fairgrounds has agreed to a sale price of $125,000. With that money, originally when I had visited with all of you, we spoke about building a covered truck structure here. That is still a dream that I want to do, but it would move a little closer to our streets and engineering, so that building would sit here to create just a little more space. And then we have a grand plan to show you at the next meeting for PD and fire. We are talking about still doing a truck port, as Troy likes to call it, but we also would like to move our salt operation over here, so up on this end of the campus to give some more room over towards PD's fence. So anyway, at this time, I would stand for any questions on the sale of the building.
Questions, council? Christie.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think the Fair Board's been very patient with us and understanding, and we appreciate that. I do know that, I'm reading between the tea leaves here, that you're meeting with police and fire and you're coming up with solutions, because I know that PD was interested in the building for training purposes, but I have heard just a little bit that maybe you're all working on something else together.
So I guess a preview to the
No,
the
you don't
next
have to
meeting.
do that.
But
You're not
yes,
ready.
I have been in a lot of communication with PD. They were interested in this building. Chief White and I have spoke several times. He agrees that it's smack dab in the middle and kind of in the way. We are talking about moving something in this neighborhood right here for them that would accommodate what that building would have. So at the
You're
next
going
meeting.
to come back with all
yes,
that, right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 25-021, approving a purchase and sale agreement with the North Idaho Fair Board for the triple wide modular unit in the amount of $125,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Comments, discussion? I think it's cool when you can work with the county on something, especially the Fair Board, you know.
So to be clear, it's the North Idaho State Fair Board.
I'm sorry.
They are partners with the county and all that, but it is the North Idaho State Fair that is buying the modular.
I get in trouble. I call the dump the dump, and it's not a dump anymore, so sorry about that. Come on, Dan, help me here. All right, so hearing none, roll call, please.
English.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Thank you. And, Fair Board, thanks for working with us. Resolution 25022, approval of the purchase of new Acupon brine production system. This is up to you again, huh?
It is.
You're going to get from getting money to spending money, huh? I
I'll
love
stick
it.
with what you're good at, Woody.
All right.
So we have been, I come to you tonight to discuss the purchase of new brine equipment for, we have a quote in your packet for $88,321. It was brought to our attention last year that the equipment we have is outdated and not supported. So if it breaks in the middle of winter when we're providing salt brine, we would not be able to repair the current system that we have. Back in 2007, the Streets and Engineering Department was forward-thinking and started to build that facility. We had a couple of tanks that you can see in that picture. Those two white tanks are going to get moved into that pit for containment. We built a little shed right there that houses all of the technical equipment. That is what I'm speaking to you about tonight. It has grown into several more tanks. We currently now can store about 30 to 40,000 gallons of salt brine if needed. Our operation has grown. When we first started, it was just for us, and now we have agencies that purchase the salt brine from us, the county, the school district, the college, the transfer station, many others, and so they rely on us to provide this product as well as us. The last 3 years, the amount of brine that we produce, it fluctuates with the winter. In 23, we had total with what we sold to others in city use was 359,865 gallons that winter. The following winter was 177,724. And then this last winter, even though we consider this a mild winter, we still produced for all of our customers and the city of Coeur d'Alene 269,065 gallons. So we do produce a lot. The need is growing. We have people constantly calling to see if we can provide for them. This is another angle. This equipment all will be able to stay in place. We don't need new tanks at this time. This is just one of our fill stations here that you can back into to get the brine. This is another one, so we have 3 locations. The building on the right, that is where all the technical equipment lives. It is aging as well. We have chosen to do some repairs to it. We're going to seal that up, but the debris on the floor, because there's water and salt water inside, sometimes it starts to rot. It can leak. So we'll do some mild repairs to this structure. This is the inside of the what we call hot tub. Kind of shows where it mixes the water and the salt. That's a picture of the hot tub. We have chosen through Sourcewell to use the same equipment. We've had really good luck with it. Because we're going to go with the same equipment, we were able to keep this hot tub, so to speak. That saves us $40,000. We will add some pieces and parts to the inside of it, but the tank itself will remain. It's the same system that we are purchasing, would like to purchase. It will allow us to make about 1,000 more gallons an hour. It will be electronic to where our customers, our staff will all be able to type in a code, and so it'll keep track of how many gallons we produce. It will link up to in our office. We can monitor it. We will be able to change the type of brine we make a lot faster per different storm, things like that. So again, this equipment is outdated, and we are in the need to purchase it now. If I can order it at this time, they are saying they can be here sometime by mid-August to help us install it, where we would be ready for hopefully no later than end of November if we had to start making salt brine. It is currently not in our budget. It's unfortunate that it has all started to come up right now that we have to replace it. As your director, I'm telling you, it'd be awfully risky for us to go in the winter without replacing it. I can't guarantee we'd be able to produce the brine. I feel that our budget can absorb this, We've had a few positions that were open, and as Troy likes to bring up to me, we had a mild winter last year, so there was some savings from that, and I hope to cover the cost there. I would stand for any questions.
Questions, council? I have a real simple one. Does brine go bad?
No, we don't empty our tanks. We can stir them, we can mix it, but we will keep, I mean, we don't keep it that long, and we don't leave them full for the summer. But if we have, say, 1,000 or 2,000 gallons sitting in a tank, we'll just stir it up and continue adding to it and make more. But we don't have to empty the tanks each season.
You told me a story, and it might be interesting, about the different brines for different temperatures, how you use salt on our roads. Because that's kind of a big deal here. We sort of take it for granted.
Yeah,
Short and sweet.
our salt brine, you know, that's our go-to. Personally, our department likes the salt brine. It's kind of, at the percentage we mix it, it's able to do a lot of things for us. So most of the weather we have, it will work. However, if you do start to get too cold, so you start getting around 20 degrees, salt brine still works. You start getting to 15 degrees, it's probably not going to work as well. It'll actually get on the road and refreeze. And so from that point, we make a product called hot mix. We add an additive to the salt brine, and that will get us below 15 degrees. As soon as we start getting down around 0, however, we have to go back to sand and salt or just road salt, things like that. So the brine products do have their limitations, but we do carry several different things throughout the winter.
I think that's so cool. All right, look for a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve resolution number 25-022, approving the purchase of a new Occubine brine production system with upgrade kits and accessories from Cargill Salt Road Safety for $88,321 through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program pursuant to Idaho Code Section 672807.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Thank you all. Resolution 25023. Justin from the street departments. You're doing the dirty work tonight, huh? He gets to do the snow, and you're gonna grind streets.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening to request the approval of change order number 1 for the City of Coeur d'Alene 2025 Millen Inlay. Every year, staff spends a significant amount of time planning, inspecting, and rating the roadways to prioritize the annual required maintenance. This season, the city was fortunate to receive a favorable load bid from Interstate Concrete and Asphalt, making additional budgeted dollars available to address other deteriorating infrastructure. At this time, Street Engineering staff kind of got together and started doing a little planning and process of increasing the scope of work, and approached Interstate regarding a potential change order. Exhibit 1 here, the yellow area, does show what was originally the bid. The red area below is what was part of the change order, and that would be from Harrison South to Birch, and then from on Birch between 3rd and 4th Street. Full width on that. We'd like to mill and inlay that also. Birch being a kind of significant area, we need to do some stormwater upgrades to it anyway. So we were going to be tearing out quite a bit of asphalt on that. And it has some grade challenges that doesn't let the water flow very well. So it was kind of a perfect storm to encompass that also. Next section of road, the second exhibit here, the yellow section is Kathleen from Ramsey headed west, basically to almost the Fish and Game office roughly. The red area is St. Michelle. Most of you guys may be familiar with that. It's up on the northwest corner of the city. It connects Kathleen to Dalton. It's a major thoroughfare for that neighborhood of Coeur d'Alene Place for getting in and out of there. It is also goes to several schools in that area, including Woodland Middle School, which is right in front of that. It is very deteriorated. Every year we do a lot of work on that road. just keeping it patched together. So this was a great opportunity with the lower bid to grab that road and do it. We do a lot of in-house paving. This road is significantly wider and has a lot of curves. It's a little tougher for us to do in-house, so that's why we'd like to bid this out. So approving this change order will repair roughly 14,725 square yards of road surface in the city. So, at this time, staff recommends the awarding of change order for the 2025 mill and inlay contract to Interstate Concrete and Asphalt for the sum of $283,730.65. With that, I will stand for any questions you might have.
Questions?
No question, but I would just say I drove that street is like our backyard, and so that, although I didn't, now that I think about it, yeah, it is kind of torn up, but of course you go pretty slow there by the school and everything, but that's, but you're right, I mean, it gets a lot of traffic, and also, and maybe that contributes, but with that school, the middle school there, a ton of, the parents are coming and going, in the morning and in the afternoon, and the school buses. So there's a heavy, lot of use on that. So I highly approve of this.
Is that a motion? That sounds like a motion.
Yeah, so I would make a motion to approve Resolution 25023, approving change order number 1 to the mill and inlay project with Interstate Concrete and Asphalt Company in the amount of $283,730.65.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions, discussion?
Mr. Mayor, this may be more than I need to do here, but I own a property on one of these roads directly, so I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
I'd like to at least make a comment that 4th Street is going to get a new street. Holy mackerel, I never thought I'd be old enough to live through that. That's going to be amazing, a smooth 4th Street all the way to the freeway, yeah?
It'll be nice.
From Harrison. I'm going to have to start running. All right, any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion to adjourn?
Thank you, been moved.
Second.
And seconded, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Say aye. Thank you all, thanks everyone.